What if everything we thought we knew about history was wrong? What if beneath the soil of our world, in forgotten caves, sunken ruins, and silent deserts, lie artifacts so strange, so impossible, that they should not exist at all? Objects that whisper of lost civilizations, ancient knowledge, and technologies far beyond what prehistoric humans were supposed to have. This is not science fiction. These are real discoveries, arrowheads buried in coal seams millions of years old, carvings that appear to depict extinct animals, ruins that predate agriculture, and stone tools that seem older than humanity itself. Archaeology is supposed to be the science that explains the past. Yet again and again, it delivers riddles that only deepen the mystery of who we are. Consider this. The official story of human evolution tells us that modern Homo sapiens emerged around 300,000 years ago, survived the brutal ice ages, and slowly developed farming, cities, and civilization. But what do we make of artifacts found in geological layers that suggest intelligence was at work millions of years before us? What do we make of ruins like Göbekli Tepe or underwater cities off the coast of India that appear thousands of years ahead of their time? Are these mistakes of dating? Coincidences? Or are they fragments of a history that has been erased? A lost chapter of humanity we can no longer deny. Imagine holding in your hands a hammer embedded in rock dated to 100 million years old. Imagine standing before an ancient wall carved with precision at a time when humans were supposedly just hunter-gatherers roaming the forests. Imagine looking at petroglyphs that show creatures we know only from fossils. Each of these discoveries forces us to ask, did other civilizations walk the earth long before us? Or is our understanding of prehistory far too narrow? In this documentary, we will explore the strangest and most controversial finds in archaeology, the ones that scholars struggle to explain, the ones that don't fit into neat timelines. From forbidden archaeology to the legends of lost civilizations, from the shadow of Neanderthals to the mysteries of the Ice Age, we will journey into the past not as tourists, but as detectives, following the clues left behind in stone and bone. This is not science fiction. This is about the possibility that human evolution is not a straight line, but a web of forgotten experiments, extinctions, and rebirths. That perhaps the story of civilization is not a single rise, but many rises and many falls. Some erased by time, some buried beneath oceans, some waiting to be uncovered. The question is not just, what have we found? The question is, what are we missing? So prepare yourself for a journey through ancient archaeology that should not exist, discoveries that defy science, challenge archaeology, and force us to confront the deepest mystery of all. Do we really know our own history?
Archaeology, at its heart, is a science of fragments. Shards of pottery, bones buried in caves, the faint outline of a stone wall. From these pieces, we attempt to reconstruct the vast puzzle of human history. And for the most part, the picture that emerges has been remarkably consistent. Prehistoric humans struggled for survival during the Ice Age, Neanderthals vanished, Homo sapiens learned to farm, and from there came cities, writing, and civilization. But scattered throughout this otherwise orderly picture are pieces that do not fit, artifacts and ruins that defy the standard timeline, discoveries that whisper of knowledge and abilities far older than they should be. To scientists, these anomalies are frustrating. To skeptics, they are dismissed. But to anyone with a sense of curiosity, they are thrilling clues that human evolution and archaeology may not be telling us the full story. Forbidden archaeology. The term forbidden archaeology is often used to describe artifacts that mainstream science prefers to ignore, not because they are fake, but because they are too inconvenient. Imagine, for instance, finding a human-made object in rock that has been dated to millions of years before Homo sapiens even existed. These finds are controversial because they threaten to overturn established timelines. One of the most famous cases is the so-called London hammer, discovered in Texas in the 1930s. It is an iron hammer encased in rock dated to over 100 million years old. According to conventional archaeology, this is impossible. Humans with tools did not exist at that time. Was the hammer misdated? Was it somehow embedded in the stone later? Or does it hint at a lost civilization far older than we think? Ancient sites that shouldn't exist. Beyond individual artifacts, entire archaeological sites raise troubling questions. Göbekli Tepe, discovered in southeastern Turkey, dates to around 9600 BCE. This makes it over 11,000 years old, thousands of years older than Stonehenge or the Egyptian pyramids. What makes it so puzzling is that it was built by hunter-gatherers, long before farming or cities existed. According to our understanding of human evolution, such monumental architecture should have been impossible at that time. And yet there it stands. Massive stone pillars arranged in perfect circles carved with animals and symbols. Other sites raise similar mysteries. Off the coast of India lies Dwarka, an underwater city thought to be over 9,000 years old. Its streets and walls suggest urban planning long before civilization was supposed to exist. In Peru, the Sacsayhuamán walls near Cusco show massive stone blocks cut and fitted with precision so exact that even a razor blade cannot slide between them. How could prehistoric humans achieve such engineering without advanced tools? Out-of-place artifacts, OOPATS. Archaeology has a long list of what are known as OOPATS, out-of-place artifacts. These include things like the Antikythera Mechanism, an ancient Greek device dated to around 100 BCE, which functions like a mechanical computer capable of predicting eclipses and planetary movements. Nothing like it should have existed until 1,000 years later. The Baghdad battery, a clay jar with copper and iron components that may have been used as a simple battery 2,000 years before electricity was officially discovered. Ancient carvings in Egypt and Central America that appear to depict airplanes, helicopters, or even astronauts. Each of these is contested, of course. Scientists offer explanations ranging from coincidence to misinterpretation. But the sheer number of such anomalies makes one wonder. Are we really seeing coincidences, or are we seeing fragments of forgotten knowledge? The challenge of dating the past. Part of the problem lies in how we date artifacts. Radiocarbon dating, stratigraphy, and other techniques are powerful, but not infallible. Layers can shift. Objects can be contaminated. Artifacts can move through geological processes. This means that some impossible discoveries may simply be errors of dating, but not all can be dismissed so easily. When multiple anomalies begin to pile up, from the Antikythera Mechanism in Greece to Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, to pyramids in Egypt, to megaliths in Peru, the picture becomes harder to ignore. The anomalies span continents and cultures, suggesting either shared knowledge or parallel innovation far earlier than believed. Why this matters? Why does this matter? Because archaeology is not just about the past. It is about who we are. The standard timeline tells us that humans advanced in a slow, steady climb. But the anomalies suggest another possibility, that civilizations may have risen and fallen many times, their knowledge lost and rediscovered. Think of the Ice Age when sea levels were far lower. Entire coastlines where humans may have settled are now underwater. Could there have been lost civilizations along those coasts? Could human history be far older and more complex than we imagine? The mystery deepens. To many, these discoveries represent nothing more than curiosities. To others, they are the cracks in the wall of history, cracks that reveal glimpses of something larger, something deeper, something far more mysterious. If even one of these impossible artifacts is genuine, then our understanding of human evolution must be rewritten. And if several are genuine, then we may be looking at evidence of lost civilizations, not myths like Atlantis, but real societies whose knowledge was erased by time, catastrophe, or war. The question then becomes, how many more discoveries lie hidden beneath the sands, the oceans, and the forgotten ruins of our world?
Picture the world at the end of the last ice age, around 12,000 years ago. Glaciers retreat, sea levels rise, and prehistoric humans wander in small bands, surviving by hunting and gathering. Their tools are simple: flint blades, wooden spears, bone needles. By conventional timelines, these were people on the edge of survival. Clever, yes, but primitive. And yet, in the hills of southeastern Turkey, they were building Göbekli Tepe, the impossible temple. Massive T-shaped pillars, some weighing 20 tons, carved with lions, serpents, and vultures, stood in perfect circles. No villages nearby, no evidence of farming, no pottery, no writing. Just stone upon stone, arranged with breathtaking precision. Archaeologists expected scattered bones, crude shelters, maybe fire pits. Instead, they found monumental architecture. Temples that should not exist for another 6,000 years. How could hunter-gatherers organize such a project? What inspired them to move mountains of stone when their daily lives were already consumed by survival? Perhaps the answer lies not in necessity, but in belief. Maybe the hunger for the sacred, for ritual, for meaning, was strong enough to unite scattered tribes into builders of the impossible. The underwater cities. Now shift your vision. Imagine standing on the coast of India 9,000 years ago. Where the modern city of Dwarka now lies, the ocean hides something strange. Submerged walls, streets, and possible temples. Sonar scans reveal outlines of what looks like a city, long before any official civilization was supposed to exist. Divers bring up artifacts, pottery shards, sculptures, even evidence of structures shaped by human hands. If confirmed, this would mean humans were building cities thousands of years earlier than mainstream archaeology allows. But the ocean keeps its secrets, and many of these finds remain disputed. Still, the thought lingers. What if rising sea levels at the end of the Ice Age swallowed whole civilizations, erasing their stories? How many impossible ruins lie beneath the waves, unseen and unknown? The Antikythera Mechanism. Fast forward to the Mediterranean, 1901. A shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera yields bronze statues, jewelry, amphorae, and something no one expected: a corroded lump of gears and wheels. At first, it was dismissed, but when scientists studied it carefully, they realized it was a machine, a complex device built around 100 BCE. Today, we call it the Antikythera Mechanism, the world's first analog computer. It could predict eclipses, chart planetary movements, and track celestial cycles with astonishing accuracy. By all accounts, this technology should not have existed until at least 1,000 years later. So where did it come from? Did Greek engineers rediscover a much older knowledge? Or was it a one-off invention, centuries ahead of its time, that vanished with its makers? The Sacsayhuamán walls. Travel now to Peru, near the city of Cusco. On a high plateau stand the Sacsayhuamán walls, immense stone fortifications built by the Inca, or perhaps by someone before them. The blocks are gigantic, some weighing over 100 tons. Yet they fit together with such precision that even today, a knife blade cannot slip between them. The stones are not uniform. They are irregular polygons fitted like a 3D puzzle. Modern engineers marvel at the craftsmanship, wondering how such work could be done without steel tools, wheels, or cranes. According to Orthodox archaeology, the Inca built these walls. But the Inca themselves said the walls were much older, the work of giants or gods who preceded them.
Could this be the memory of a lost civilization? A forgotten chapter of human history? The out-of-place artifacts. Then there are the smaller anomalies, scattered like breadcrumbs across time. A 300-million-year-old iron screw found embedded in rock in Russia. Ancient Egyptian carvings that some claim resemble helicopters and airplanes. The Baghdad battery, clay jars that might have been used to generate electricity 2,000 years before Benjamin Franklin. Each one is controversial. Each one has skeptics. And yet, together, they form a pattern. Again and again, across continents and millennia, humans seem to be reaching for knowledge that should not be possible. The human element. Imagine the people behind these anomalies. The hunter who carved a serpent into limestone at Göbekli Tepe, never knowing we would study it 12,000 years later. The engineer who built the Antikythera Mechanism, perhaps one of many, whose tradition was lost when their society collapsed. The Inca stonemason placing a block so perfectly that it would stand for centuries, defying earthquakes and time. Were they geniuses ahead of their era? Were they inheritors of older knowledge? Or were they simply humans, like us, capable of far more than we assume? A world of forgotten rises and falls. The deeper we look, the clearer it becomes. History is not a straight line. Civilizations rise, fall, and vanish. Ice ages come and go. Oceans rise and swallow coastlines. Wars and plagues erase knowledge in a single generation. What if the impossible artifacts we find are not errors, but echoes? Fragments of earlier civilizations erased by catastrophe. Perhaps our ancestors were not the first to dream of the stars, to carve symbols in stone, or to build machines. Perhaps we are only the latest in a long cycle of remembering and forgetting. Göbekli Tepe, Dwarka, Antikythera, Sacsayhuamán. Each site, each artifact is a doorway into a history that should not exist, but does.
Every mysterious artifact comes with a battle between believers who see evidence of lost civilizations and skeptics who argue for mistakes, frauds, or misinterpretations. Göbekli Tepe, the Antikythera Mechanism, Sacsayhuamán, the Baghdad battery, and countless other anomalies sit at the crossroads between archaeology and imagination. The question is, how do we separate fact from fantasy? And how do we deal with discoveries that refuse to fit the official timeline? Göbekli Tepe, faith before farming. When Göbekli Tepe was first uncovered, many archaeologists resisted the implications. Monumental stone temples built by hunter-gatherers thousands of years before agriculture simply didn't fit the model of human evolution. Some scholars argue that the site has been misunderstood. Perhaps it wasn't a temple at all, but simply a gathering space. Others suggest that the dating might be too early, or that agriculture was already beginning nearby. But the carvings, the monumental scale, and the deliberate burial of the site make it hard to dismiss. Even the skeptics admit that Göbekli Tepe has reset the clock on civilization. If faith came before farming, then the very roots of human society are more mysterious than we ever imagined. The Antikythera Mechanism, ahead of its time. The Antikythera Mechanism is less disputed in its authenticity. It is undeniably real. What sparks debate is what it represents. Mainstream historians argue it was a one-of-a-kind invention by a Greek genius. A mechanical marvel, yes, but not evidence of a lost civilization. They say the knowledge simply disappeared until similar devices re-emerged over 1,000 years later. But others ask, how does such sophistication appear fully formed with no gradual development? Shouldn't we see a trail of similar devices leading up to it? Instead, we find a machine so advanced it seems like a relic, not a prototype. Was it part of a much older tradition, one that vanished completely from the record? Sacsayhuamán, impossible stonework. The Sacsayhuamán walls are perhaps the most contested of all. To engineers, the precision is staggering, Yet archaeologists attribute it to the Inca, pointing out that the Inca were skilled builders. Skeptics of the impossible stonework theory argue that humans are resourceful. Given enough time, manpower, and ingenuity, even without modern tools, such feats are achievable. But the question remains, why use such irregular polygonal stones when simple rectangular blocks would suffice? Why transport stones weighing over 100 tons when smaller ones would work? The Inca themselves admitted the walls predated them. If that's true, then who were the original builders? And why has no record of their methods survived? Out-of-place artifacts, fraud, or forgotten knowledge? OOPATs are where the controversy burns hottest. For every strange artifact, skeptics provide explanations. The London hammer? A modern tool accidentally encased in a concretion of minerals. The Baghdad battery? Likely a storage jar, not a power source. Egyptian carvings of helicopters? Probably overlapping hieroglyphics, not machines. And yet, some anomalies defy easy dismissal. The Antikythera Mechanism is real. Göbekli Tepe is real. Sacsayhuamán is real. They are not frauds. They exist, and they challenge us. The problem is not whether these artifacts exist, but what they mean. Are they simply outliers, or are they evidence that our model of human history is incomplete? The academic divide. The academic community is cautious, even defensive, about anomalies. Archaeology is built on decades of careful work, and one artifact cannot be allowed to rewrite everything without overwhelming evidence. But history is full of moments when one discovery forced a revolution. The discovery of Neanderthals rewrote human evolution. The unearthing of Troy proved that myths could be real. The Rosetta Stone cracked the code of Egyptian hieroglyphs. Could these impossible artifacts be the next Rosetta Stone, pointing us toward forgotten civilizations? Or will they remain curiosities, locked in museums, explained away as accidents? The lost civilizations hypothesis. Outside the academy, one theory has captured the imagination of millions, that there were once advanced civilizations predating the Ice Age, now lost to floods and cataclysms. Writers like Graham Hancock argue that during the last Ice Age, humans may have achieved a level of sophistication erased when the ice melted and sea levels rose. The flood myths found in cultures worldwide, from Mesopotamia's Gilgamesh to Noah's Ark to ancient India's Manu, could be memories of real catastrophes that wiped out entire civilizations. Mainstream archaeology is skeptical. There is little hard evidence, they argue, and extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Yet the allure remains. If even one lost civilization existed, then our story is far older and stranger than textbooks admit. The unanswered questions. For every explanation offered, new questions arise. If Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers, why do we not see more temples like it from that era? If the Antikythera Mechanism was a unique invention, why was such knowledge forgotten for 1,000 years? If the Inca built Sacsayhuamán, why do their descendants say it came from an earlier age? And if OOPATs are all coincidences, why do they appear in so many different cultures and epochs? At some point, the pile piles up. One strange find can be dismissed, two can be explained, but when dozens emerge across continents, the puzzle becomes undeniable. What this means for us. Perhaps the greatest mystery is not whether these artifacts should exist, but what they reveal about us. Humanity has always been more creative, more intelligent, and more resilient than we assume. Time and again, we underestimate prehistoric humans, imagining them as primitive, until their works rise from the dust and humble us. Maybe these anomalies are not mistakes in archaeology. Maybe they are reminders that we have forgotten much more than we know.
When we look at discoveries like Göbekli Tepe, the Antikythera Mechanism, or the megaliths of Peru, it's tempting to see them only as puzzles of the past, curiosities that sit in museums or footnotes in archaeology. But the truth is, these anomalies matter today more than ever. They are not just about prehistoric humans, lost civilizations, or forgotten tools. They're about us, here and now. Because every artifact that should not exist carries with it a lesson about human resilience, creativity, and the fragility of knowledge. Lesson 1. Humans have always reached beyond survival. Prehistoric humans were not satisfied with merely surviving the Ice Age. They painted animals on cave walls. They carved spirals and symbols into stone. They built temples like Göbekli Tepe even before farming. That is a reminder for us today. Meaning comes before comfort. Just as they reached for the sacred, for beauty, for knowledge, we too hunger for something greater than bread and shelter. In our modern lives, we often chase only survival in a new form: money, security, possessions. But the anomalies of archaeology whisper a timeless truth. What makes us human is not just survival, but imagination. Lesson 2. Knowledge can be lost. The Antikythera Mechanism shows us that ancient humans could build machines as precise as clockwork centuries before modern science. And yet, that knowledge vanished, forgotten for over 1,000 years. Sacsayhuamán reminds us that ancient builders mastered techniques we still struggle to replicate. The Inca themselves admitted they did not fully understand the works of their ancestors. This is a sobering reminder. Knowledge is not guaranteed to progress forever. It can be lost in a single catastrophe: a flood, a war, a collapse. Our libraries, our digital archives, our entire technological world could disappear, leaving future generations to wonder how we did what we did. Are we so sure that we are the first and only civilization to reach this level of advancement? Or could others have risen and fallen before us, their works reduced to impossible artifacts we now stumble upon? Lesson 3. Cooperation is humanity's secret technology. Göbekli Tepe could not have been built by a single tribe. It required hundreds, maybe thousands of prehistoric humans to come together, to quarry stone, to carve animals, to raise pillars. What united them was not survival, but shared belief, ritual, myth, story. That is the secret of humanity, our ability to cooperate on a massive scale. Today, our cooperation builds skyscrapers, space stations, and digital networks, but the principle is the same. Our greatest technology is not stone or silicon, it is trust, myth, and collective vision. What vision are we building together now? What Göbekli Tepes are we creating in our own time? Lesson 4. Mystery is necessary. We often think of mystery as something to be solved, a problem to eliminate. But the anomalies of archaeology remind us that mystery is fuel. It keeps us searching. It humbles us. It makes us ask better questions. Göbekli Tepe does not give us answers. The Antikythera Mechanism does not tell us why it exists. The Sacsayhuamán walls do not reveal their secrets. And yet their very strangeness inspires wonder. Perhaps the role of mystery in our lives is not to be solved, but to be embraced. Just as prehistoric humans carved animals and symbols into stone without knowing whether their myths were eternal, we too create meaning in the face of the unknown. Lesson 5. Cycles of rise and fall. History may not be a straight line of progress. It may be a cycle. Civilizations rise, flourish, and fall, leaving behind fragments for future generations to puzzle over. Think of the flood myths found in every corner of the world: Mesopotamia, India, the Americas. Were they merely symbolic, or were they memories of real catastrophes that wiped out entire cultures at the end of the Ice Age? If so, then we too are part of that cycle. Our skyscrapers and satellites could one day be ruins, leaving fragments for distant descendants to wonder about. That thought should humble us. It should remind us that progress is fragile, that knowledge is precious, and that nothing, not even modern civilization, is immune to time.
Archaeology is supposed to reveal the past, to give us a clear line from prehistoric humans to the modern world. But the deeper we dig, the more we discover that the past does not follow a straight line. It twists, it fractures, it surprises us with artifacts and ruins that should not exist. We've seen the pillars of Göbekli Tepe, carved and raised by hunter-gatherers who were not supposed to build temples. We've touched the gears of the Antikythera Mechanism, a machine centuries ahead of its time. We've walked the walls of Sacsayhuamán, where stones too massive and precise still defy explanation. And we've traced the outlines of out-of-place artifacts scattered across time like whispers of forgotten knowledge. Each one challenges the official story of human evolution and lost civilizations. Each one forces us to ask whether history is far older, far stranger than we imagine. And yet, perhaps the greatest gift of these anomalies is not certainty, but wonder. They remind us that prehistoric humans were not primitive. They were dreamers, engineers, and builders. They were us, with the same spark of imagination, the same hunger for meaning, the same ability to create the impossible. But they also remind us of fragility. Knowledge can be lost. Civilizations can vanish. The cycle of rise and fall has played out many times, and we may be only the latest chapter. So we're left with questions. Were there civilizations before us, erased by flood or fire? How much of our own story lies buried beneath the oceans, beneath the deserts, waiting to be uncovered? And most hauntingly, will our monuments, our machines, our myths one day puzzle archaeologists of the far future? Do we really know our ancestors? Or are we only scratching the surface of a much deeper human history? That is the mystery of ancient archaeology that should not exist, a mystery that does not weaken science, but enriches it. For every unanswered question is an invitation to dig deeper, to think wider, to imagine boldly. And perhaps that is the truest legacy of these impossible discoveries, not that they give us answers, but that they keep us asking.